All right, good morning. How you guys doing? Doing good? You guys are looking really good. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. But anyway, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to get away for a little while. We enjoyed ourselves and got some good rest. And we're back, and we are so glad to be among God's people. Isn't this an awesome group? Awesome group. And here's the deal. I'm looking around and just seeing some of you guys and knowing the stories. I don't know if you realize that you are a walking, stinking miracle. And so I just want to kind of give you guys the props. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome to see what God is doing. Okay, as we're getting this series started, and I know Richard started it last week, did a great job, I heard, by the way. So thank you, Richard, for doing that. And then, we're going to kind of continue that. And the deal is that the title of this series is just simply, We Are They. And the point that we're trying to make is oftentimes when we get in difficult situations, we would rather point the finger at someone than actually kind of take personal responsibility. So we say they did this or they did that. We want you to know that we are they. So that we're all in this together. That's the idea. That's actually God's idea of the church. Now, to get this going, and of course, with the football season is going, and we got our jerseys on. Of course, we're going to use that. I heard the Raiders are going to Vegas. Any Raider fans? Yeah. You excited about them going to Vegas? No. I bet they.
Me either. Who cares? Sorry.
See,
love you, Roger.
You thought I was bad, And so now here's what I thought about. What a coach's nightmare. Imagine these young college boys with more money than they've ever had in their life, moving them to a place where gambling and prostitution is legal. Bad idea. So anyway, I'm glad I'm not a Raiders fan. I'm a Packers fan, and everybody knows that Loretta is a Cowboys fan.
God's favorite team. Woo.
Don't encourage her. She doesn't really need the help. So, well, anyway, and so the deal is that now I've been a Packers fan since Super Bowl I. Yeah, back in the olden days, when the dinosaurs were on the sidelines, But anyway, so I've been a Packers fan for a long time, almost a lifetime. And Loretta, you've been a Cowboys fan for?
Since about 83 or 84, back when, they were doing awesome. But let me just say, back when we still have 5 Super Bowls, you still only have 3. Go on. Oh, excuse me, 4. Yeah, that's right, 4.
Just like a Cowboy, she can't even count either. But so anyway, now here's the deal: is that even though we support different teams, you look at this, you think, oh my gosh, that's a house divided. They should be rooting for the same team. Here's what I want you to understand: we are different. We're not the same. And part of the chemistry that makes a relationship work is allowing one another to be different. So you look at this and say, man, that's a house divided. It is not a house divided. It's a house with differences. Everybody say differences. And it's okay for people to be different from you. It's okay for people to like different things than you. Now, she has tried for years to get me to come over to the dark side. But the force is strong in this one. And so
let's just say, I'm gonna write you off. When he was younger, way younger, Tom Landry is the reason that I became a Dallas fan. He was a devout Christian. He stood for the cause of Christ and the cause of the Dallas Cowboys. But the reason he quit being a Dallas Cowboys because they had differences and they didn't treat Tom Landry wise, and so he became a Packer fan. Just saying.
Just to be clear. Here we go. You guys are going to see it now. Here we go. I like the Cowboys, but I've kind of always been a Packers fan. So.
Just saying.
Honey. Anyway, all right. So now here's the deal. Of course we're different. Obviously, we like different things. Obviously, but it just makes us different. Now sometimes there's conflict. Like sometimes she thinks the Cowboys are going to win. I'm just playing, but anyway.
And we are first in our division.
Now here's the deal.
You're number 2. Just saying.
Now here's how this works. Just to kind of get back to the spiritual stuff, is that It's when we allow our differences to divide us. That's when we start losing this spiritual battle for our future. You are interacting with people every day that are different than you. Everybody got a crayon? Hold your crayon out. Let me see. Okay? Not everybody's got the same color as you. Not everybody's crayon looks like yours. They're different, but they're all still crayons. And so here's what I'm saying for us today is that, of course, our differences are going to create some conflict sometimes. That's life. But when we allow those differences to divide us, things will fall apart. Matter of fact, Jesus put it this way. In Luke chapter 11, verse 17, he said, any kingdom or system divided against itself will be ruined. And a house divided against itself will fall. And so we go into life in agreement. And when we go into life in agreement, we assume that person thinks and does everything like us. And now eventually, probably right away, we discover that they're different than us. Have you noticed that the people around you are different? You might use a different word. You might say weird. You might even say wrong. And so when we discover those differences, it creates tension in the relationship. It creates tension going on. And what happens is, before we discover that those differences are just making us different, oftentimes what happens, we allow those differences to divide us. And the house falls. You see what I'm saying? So that's where I'm kind of going with this whole thing. Now, if our default response is always to defend ourselves and get defensive and point fingers and all this kind of stuff, we're literally destroying our future. Matter of fact, Jesus even put it this way. He says, when you're pointing fingers at somebody else, he says, I want you to understand you're pointing fingers at me. Here's what he said in Matthew chapter 25. He said, whenever you do that to somebody else, I want you to understand you're doing it to me. That's me. So God is for us, yes, but God is for all of us, not just us. He's for all of us. Now, the whole political thing is just, man, it's crazy, beyond crazy. I mean, even reality TV don't get that real. I mean, it's just insane. Now, and I've heard politicians call part of our nation irredeemable. Not to pick on anything, but I'm telling you that Jesus does not agree with that conclusion, because Jesus believes that we are all redeemable. And so Jesus looks at our differences. He looks at things going on with our life. He looks at the stuff that we're going through. And he said, you know what? I'm going to give my best for their worst, because I believe that their best is still yet to be seen. So Jesus has invested his best in you because he believes that there is potential in you that you haven't even discovered yet. And what happens is, so God's not looking for us to take a stand for him, because he does pretty good on his own. But God is looking for us to stand with each other. That's the idea. Now, people have they're into this rage thing where they're making a stand on this and protest that and all this kind of stuff. And they say that that's courage. That's not courage. That's not courage at all. It's outrage. Outrage demands that you agree with them or you'll suffer the consequences. What courage does, courage simply does the right thing because it's the right thing and waits for other people to figure out that it's the right thing. And so basically, here's where I want to go with this whole thought, is that anything that serves to divide us as a nation, as a family, as a church, as a people, will eventually destroy everything that we've tried to build. Don't be tricked into this. Now the political climate has absolutely gone over the edge. I keep waiting for somebody to say, just kidding. But it's insane. So it's really gone over the edge. Now here's the deal. I don't think that we should be surprised. Ronald Reagan, a great president, said this. He said, when we as a nation forget that we are one nation under God, we will be one nation gone under. So here's what I'm saying. This is what I feel like that God has kind of revealed to me. Is that because we have this lapse in morality, because of the moral decay in our culture, we are suffering the unintended consequences of moral decay. So the world we're living with now, that's what happens when we have a world without God. And you might say, well, I don't agree with you. Okay, let's look at your life. How was life without God? I'll let you write your own answer, right? Now, when life with God, is life with God better? Raise your hand if life with God is better. Nanner, nanner, there you are, right? Okay, and so what happens is in our nation, the reason that we're seeing this insanity is because that's the unintended consequences of moral decay. Because what happens is that all of these things have served to divide us. And so what happens, just like in the Garden of Eden, when there was moral decay, the world started producing weeds and problems and all these kind of issues. So what happens is we traded our convictions for compromise. We've traded our values for valuables. We've traded our future for fantasies. We've traded righteousness for our rights. And the world has fallen down around our ears. Basically, guys, here's what I'm saying. The farther people move away from God, the darker their hearts get. That's just simplicity. The farther people move away from God, the darker their hearts get. So I don't know if this is end times, but it's certainly a dark time. Now, and I don't want to be a prophet of doom, nothing like that, but what happens is when our spirits become dull and dry and hard, what happens is we get moved by moments and we get manipulated by emotions. And we're manipulated by emotions, that's when those thoughts are introduced to us, just like in the Garden of Eden, those thoughts that divide us. So what happened in the Garden of Eden, it wasn't just the fact that they felt the temptation, but what happened was they started blaming one another. So this is what I'm saying, and this works for us in our house all the time. Whenever the enemy of our soul can get us to where we start pointing fingers at one another, the house starts falling apart. Things start going horribly, horribly bad. And arguing isn't going to make it better. So I'm going to challenge you today. Drop your sword and pick up your cross. Drop your sword and pick up your cross. I think that's a powerful idea right there. Now that's hard to do. Matter of fact, I'm going to say some things that's probably going to hurt your feelings here in the next couple of minutes. You ready? It's like, oh, man. This isn't a hobby horse. I'm just going to make... Can I just simply point out the obvious? Now, in the New Testament culture, understand, in that time, there was no source of entertainment. No source of entertainment. You know what they did for fun during the day? They sat someplace and they just watched people. What'd you do today? I watched people. What are you doing tomorrow? I don't know, maybe I'll go watch people. Now, the only source of entertainment that they had in that culture was the Greek culture put on plays in the town square. You ever heard of the Greek tragedy? It's because in every single Greek play, every single one, they had to kill somebody. Sounds like fun, huh? And so what they would find these actors and they would play these parts of either the victim or the villain, and they play these parts. And what they called them, those people that were playing parts about people that were not them, is the name that they had for those actors on the stage is they called them hypocrites. You with me? And basically the hypocrite was they played somebody on the stage that wasn't really them. You guys are nervous now. Here we go. You ready? Okay, so let's just kind of go here. If the words of Donald Trump offended you, but you enjoyed 50 Shades of Grey and Magic Mike, that's hypocritical. Now see, here's the way you do this. The next couple of minutes, all you got to do to figure this out, just look straight ahead. Then every once in a while, just do this. Look, watch close, go. Okay? That makes you look good, okay? Now really, that's hypocritical. That's hypocrisy. Okay, so now and matter of fact, Michelle Obama said the words of Donald Trump shook her to her core. But yet her best friends, Beyonce and Jay-Z, if their words of their songs don't shake her to her core, I'm sorry, that's hypocritical. Matter of fact, if you're a parent and you have children that listen to Beyonce and Jay-Z, I dare you to look the lyrics up. I'm pretty sure you will slap their face off. I was actually going to use some, but after I read them, I was like, I'm reading, even reading them, I looked over my shoulder. And so, no, but what I'm saying, I'm not downing anybody. That's not the deal. But oftentimes we make stands on things when actually in our own life, we don't have that act together. And we're so ready to point fingers. That's hypocritical, right? Okay, so matter of fact, Mrs. Clinton says that she supports and she professes that every child life matters. but she supports abortion up to the hour of birth. Up to the hour of birth. Her conclusion is that, and I'm not slamming anybody, I just want you guys to know that when a woman goes into labor, she can either go to the abortion clinic or to the hospital. It's her choice. And not slamming her, I mean, she believes that, whatever, but you can't say every child's life matters and then believe that. See, it doesn't coincide. That's hypocritical. If something somebody says you feel like is bigoted, but you say similar things towards somebody else, I'm sorry, man, that's hypocritical. Matter of fact, even looking at Mrs. Clinton, if you condemn Mrs. Clinton for lying and manipulating to get things to go her way and you do the same thing, dude, that's hypocritical. If we say that we love God with all of our heart, He's the most important thing in our life, but yet we resist sharing our resources with Him, and His time constantly gets pushed to the back burner. Everything else gets involved. That's hypocritical. So here's what I'm saying for you and I. I'm not saying that trying to judge all these things. Here's what I'm saying. Before we judge others, let's start here. Let's start here. That's the plan. And so what happens is all this stuff is hypocritical, and that's how we become a house divided. When we judge other for something we don't have together ourselves, or maybe we got something together and they're doing this, but as soon as we start pointing fingers, our house begins to crumble. We tear down our own stuff. Okay, so somehow we've allowed the enemy of our soul to have us live this life in a divided house, and it's not okay. So now get this. My job isn't to convince you to believe like I believe. Say, well, I don't believe like you believe. That's cool. Say, isn't that a problem? Not for me. Not a big deal. Now, just because I disagree with you, that's not hate speech either. But see, here's what I'm saying. This is where this goes. Is that my job is to love you in spite of the choices that you make in your life, and pray for you and encourage you to help you get through those places that threaten the relationships that matter the most to you and your relationship with God who loves you more. So what I'm going to do, rather than condemn you and point fingers, is I'm going to embrace you and love you. And it's the power of God that will get you through that. It's not me, okay? So the most important issues, they're not our sensitivities and they're not our feelings, but it's the values that shape our future. That's what's important. People say, well, there's a war in Christianity. Well, no kidding. You know why there's a war in Christianity? By the way, the war in Christianity didn't start because somebody got in office. The war in Christianity started from the cross. Actually, it started way back when. And the only reason that Christianity is picked on more than every other religion is think about this, guys. You think the devil cares if you follow a false religion? Not a big deal. Now, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but here's what Jesus said. These are the words of Jesus in John chapter 14, verse 6. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. So, of course, there's this war. Now, so the devil hates everything in this world that God had created. He's the God of this world. So, now, what I want you to understand, rather than focusing on our differences, how about we focus on where this thing is going? Because you know what really, really matters? Not what somebody said back here, but where we're going here. As a matter of fact, that's probably the most important thing, is being able to let some stuff go so that you can embrace where God is taking you. Are you guys still with me? So don't be fooled. This is a spiritual battle. So all right, so let's get down to this. The solution for a house divided. Listen, if you're in a situation where you're living in total conflict, if you're in a situation where there's things going on that are just making you crazy, if you're in a situation where things are just falling apart and you don't know what to do, the solution for a house divided is not winning an argument. Even people in church, the solution for the stuff that is morally going on in our nation, then argument, neither side is going to win an argument. Why? Because everybody believes passionately what they believe. Okay, so what is the solution for a divided house? You ready? Grace. Demonstrate grace. The same grace that you have been shown Aim that grace at other people rather than your finger. You still with me? So, well, you don't know what they did. You're right, I don't. That's not fair. You're absolutely right. But your resentment and your bitterness and your frustration, my friend, how is that moving your life forward? It's impossible. Matter of fact, the Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 12 and verse 3 said it this way. For by the grace given to me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought to, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the measure of faith that God has given you. I was here. Now I'm here. Because God showed me grace here and didn't judge me, that allowed me the opportunity to take the journey to get to here. See, that's sober judgment. Sober judgment is looking at your life and realizing, you know what? There was a point when you weren't all that. Matter of fact, there may still be points where, well, yeah. Just look at somebody next to you and just smile and just tell them God has work to do. Not because we love each other. Now you can say, you too, buddy. Okay? But see, now what happened was, even in the Garden of Eden, all the serpent had to do was deceive Eve and then watch division completely dismantle everything. It's a tool of the enemy to divide your house, to create conflict, and to have those differences ruin everything that God has planned for your life. So we've all been given the crayons. Now, then some of you guys are looking at this saying, man, these are some pretty crummy crayons. Some of them are broken. Some of them are like really well used. Some of them don't have any paper on them anymore. Some of them are kind of a good shape. A whole bunch of different colors. I was thinking about this morning, kind of a weird thought. I don't know if anybody remembers the 64 crayon box. Anybody remember 64 crayon box? I mean, not as good as Windows default, but just some. Remember the white crayon? What's the point? I mean, really. Have you ever noticed this? Think about this. You ever notice how the white one was always new? But anyway, so here we are. So now the reason we gave you those crayons is, look, isn't that us? Some of us were more broken than others. Some of us have been used and abused. Sometimes the wrapping's been torn off. Sometimes we're going through places in our life where the dark colors is all that seems to be there. Anybody been there? You might wonder, God, I don't know how you're going to take something good and make out of this, but see, here's what I want you to get. God's plan for your life. He takes those dark colors and he outlines the beauty. Here's what God does for you and I. Of course, we're all different. Even with all those differences, some broken. Some of you guys have been used and it's just such a tragedy. Some have been exposed and you don't know how to get your life back on track. Some of you, maybe you're doing pretty good. Lots of different colors. But all still crayons. God's plan for the life of you and I is not that we would live this life where, here it is and everything's got to be like me. But there's people around you that God combines those colors to paint beautiful pictures of hope for the world. That's right. You know what I want you guys to get more than anything else? You might not see the value in your story, but that's because you don't know all the other stories. Because I have the privilege of being your pastor. I know maybe a little bit about a lot of people, but I know some of these stories. And I know some of you guys, some of those parts of your stories, I mean, they're dark colors. And I get it. But I also know that God used other colors to paint beautiful pictures of who you are now. The enemy of your soul wants you to take those dark places in your life and feel like there's no value at all. But God's plan is God put you in this community of believers. New Life puts the fun in dysfunction. You know what's crazy about being part of New Life? This is kind of hilarious. You meet somebody with the same dysfunction of yours, you go, hey. That's like not okay in a whole bunch of world. But see, here's the deal. Our differences don't divide us. Our differences are what God uses to paint this beautiful picture of hope. Maybe the colors that are going on in your life right now, you're struggling in a relationship. There's probably somebody close to you that you don't know that they've colored with that crayon before. And their color has changed now to something bold and beautiful. God put you together. See, God's plan is to take all of those things that are going on in your life and put this all together in this family called God's family. And to create this incredible picture of hope. Listen. There's people in this room that you are so down on yourself. I'm going to talk to you like a spiritual dad for a second. You right? You okay? You're really down on yourself. Knock it off. Knock it off, because your story is not over. Say, man, I've made mistakes. My God, who hasn't? I mean, think about the Donald Trump tape. I mean, how many of us, there's conversations that if they were posted, oh my God. Think about it, right? What if we put yours up on the screen? Guess what Mario said? Here's the deal. That's what makes grace so important. So what happens is God shows us grace and gets us from here to here. And then God says, hey, what I want you to do is when you see somebody over there, if you will show grace in here, then you can help them get from here to here, and you can walk this road together. God's story in your life is just now getting started. The best is yet to come, my friend. That's what I'm saying. You don't know how powerful your life is. The fact that you are sitting in the chair in a church, that's freaking amazing. That's amazing. There's probably people in your past, if you called them up after church and you told them, guess where I was today? They would go, that's funny. We're all different, and God takes those differences to create a world where everybody has hope. So we'll just stop with this. Yeah, we're all different. Yeah, we're broken. We're going to find our place, and that's what makes a great house. Lay down your sword, pick up your cross, and watch what God will do. So right now, if you're living in a divided house, if you're living in conflict that you can't seem to get past, if you live in a life where you're living in two different worlds, if you're struggling to stay this kind of a person, but this kind of a person keeps creeping back into your life, that's a divided house. And if something doesn't change, it'll fall. And you are way too important for that to happen. So, whose house is it? Joshua put it this way, Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. He said, if serving the Lord seems undesirable for you, then choose for yourselves this day who you will serve. You know, I love the way he ends this verse. As for me and my house. Everybody say my house. No, say it. My house. Make a declaration. My house. As for me and my house, I'm going to serve the Lord. I believe that God's best is still yet to come. I believe my story is just getting started. I believe that whatever color is being painted in my life right now, better things are ahead. I believe that God has surrounded me with people that are able to help me. We're going to build this thing together. I believe that God is painting a glorious picture, and my color matters. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Whose house is it? Could I get you to bow your heads and close your eyes for just 1 second, please? You're sitting in this room today, and you're in a relationship that is struggling with every fiber of your being to get through. And hope seems to be fading away, and you're running out of options. If that's you, just show me a hand real fast. Say, Pastor Dave, pray for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Question number 2. You're trying so hard to live the life that you're supposed to. But something keeps happening that's messing you all up. And you're actually afraid of yourself. If that's you and nobody's looking around, say, raise your hand, say, Pastor Dave, that's me, pray for me. Thank you, guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. Last question. If when I was talking about a hypocrite, something in your chest got tight because you're nervous, and you're feeling that rejection, and you made huge mistakes, and you're afraid this isn't going to work, you matter, my friend. If that's you, just raise your hand up real quick and put it right back down. Thank you. Thank you. Could y'all stand this morning, please? Some of you guys, you're beating yourself up. I don't know if you know this, but God isn't looking for perfection or performance. He's merely looking for improvement. That's all. Because if God was looking for perfection, baby, we're all out of it. Might as well all be Raiders fans. I'm just playing, you know. I got Roger's attention more than anything else in the whole morning. But he's not looking for perfection, just improvement. And if we improve a little bit every day, one of these days you're going to look back and go, wow, I've come a long ways. Can you guys do that? You got that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pray. And I feel strongly about this right now. What I'm going to do, I don't usually do this, I'm going to join our prayer partners this morning. And there's a situation that you would like me to personally pray for you. I'm here for you, man. I'm going to be your pastor. I'm going to stand alongside of you, and we're going to get through this. Okay? All right? You ready? Come on, Richard, let's pray.